Hey everyone. Last week I promised you a strategy episode, so that is what you are going to get today. This is a episode that's been in the queue for a while. It was requested probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 months ago by a listener of the show in California named Guy. Hello, Guy, if you're listening to this. I hope you're doing well. And what we're going to cover is how to improve. And we're specifically going to look at improving from the 4.0 to the 4.5 level. So if you've been listening for a while, then you know back in December, I got bumped up from 4.5 to 5.0. And I'll talk a little bit about that in this episode. But more importantly, I'm going to talk about how to kind of diagnose within your game the area that you need to improve. So hopefully I can give you a framework to at least figure out which kind of lever you need to pull. It could be working on a particular stroke. It could be focusing on strategy a little more or something else entirely. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to do that. And if you're not a 4.0, then this will still help you. If you're a 4.5, if you're a 3.0, it doesn't really matter. I'm really going to focus on kind of the process of improvement as far as how I see it and based on kind of what I've experienced myself as well as what I've learned from a lot of other top coaches around the country. So the place I want to start is what are the differences between a 4.0 and a 4.5 player? So obviously the 4.5 player is better. That's why they're rated a little bit higher. But what are the actual differences? So there can be a variety of ways to improve your game. And it all comes down to two different areas. So if you're a 4.0 and you've been trying to get to 4.5 for a while, or even a 3.0 trying to get to 3.5, whatever it is, there's only two ways you can really improve your game. Maybe there's a third, which I'll mention, but the way I see it is really there's only two ways you can improve. One is you can improve technically. So that means improving your technique on your serve, your return, your forehand, your backhand, your volleys, your overhead, things like that. So you might need improvement with your technique. The other area you can improve is your tactical approach to the game or your strategic approach to each match. So that essentially just means playing smarter. So again, technically, we have a lot of different strokes in tennis. You can improve each individual stroke. Maybe you're at 4.0 and your forehand's really solid. You don't have any issues with that, but you face a lot of teams that are able to find your backhand ground stroke, and it is at maybe your backhand's at a 3.5 level, your forehand's at a 4.5 level, so you're stuck at the 4.0 level. So in that case, you need to improve your backhand from a 3.5 backhand to a 4.0 backhand or a 4.5 backhand. Or another thing you can do is figure out ways to not hit backhands, and that's a totally different thing. Examples of technical issues we went over: serve, return, ground strokes. So that could be forehand or backhand, volleys, overheads. Tactical issues. This could be any number of things. I see all the time at the 4.0 level. A lot of players hit down the line too often. They try to go for winners from the baseline because 3 points ago they were able to hit a forehand winner down the line and it worked. So why can't they do it every point? The answer is simply that most points end in an error. So if you're trying to hit winners from the baseline as your main strategy, then you're probably leaving a lot on the table. So then in that case, you have a tactical problem. You have a strategic problem, and you need to improve your strategy by playing smarter, trying to force errors, maybe trying to get to the net, playing higher percentage shots. Another example of a tactical problem is going for too much on your first serve. I see a lot of players do this at every level. They try to hit these big bombing first serves, and they just have a first serve percentage of like 45%. So then they end up with a bunch of second serve points on their serve. They get broken a lot, and they get stuck at the 4-0 level. There's a number of other tactical issues you could have. Maybe, for example, you play at the baseline too much. I know that was the case for me 5 years ago. Once I really started getting back into doubles a lot more, I didn't transition to the net enough. So I added the serve and volley to my game. It could be that you have trouble with returning cross court, and you like to return down the line, and that's not a smart shot. But anyways, we could go through tons and tons of these, but you have to figure out for yourself, is it something technical or is it something tactical that you have to change to improve? So what differences, I've covered a few of these, but what differences do I actually see when I go to tournaments or see league matches in 4-0 and 4-5? So when I see the transition from 4-0 to 4-5, one thing I notice is a lot of the kind of mechanical strokes start to disappear at the 4-5 level. So what I mean by that is, when you're taught to hit a forehand, for example, a lot of coaches teach it in 5 or 10 steps or whatever. Turn your feet sideways, pull your racket back, hold the right Western grip or semi-Western grip, pull your racket back, swing up, brush the ball, kiss your elbow, and so on. It's like a series of steps, but we're not robots, so that's not actually, in my opinion, the best way to teach a particular stroke. You see it more often with the serve, right? Put your hands together forward, drop your hands down, scratch your back, and so on. So a lot of the way that those coaches teach is very mechanical, kind of step by step. And that approach can get you, I feel like, to the 4-0 level, maybe to the 4-5 level. But at the 4-5 level, I start to see that kind of step by step stroke pattern disappear, and players start to hit with more fluidity. They hit with what looks like kind of less effort, and they hit kind of more, more fluid ground strokes. Like I said, one of the best coaches for teaching these kind of fluid ground strokes, and he calls it the effortless game, is Jack Brody, who I've had on the podcast before. You can check out his website at Brody Tennis, and he does a really good job of teaching strokes with a kind of rhythm instead of a mechanical approach. So I feel like that starts to disappear at the 4-5 level. Another thing is, and these are kind of correlated, I see more spin and more pace on shots at the 4-5 level. Spin's definitely a big one. More people are, on the guys' side, able to hit kick serves. On the men's and women's sides, able to hit heavier ground strokes and things like that. And then in general, serves and overheads are better as well. I see a lot of people get away with kind of the pancake grip at the 4-0 level on both serves and overheads. And that's why you see, I think, a lot more lobbing at the 4-0 level, because it's more effective, because their overheads aren't quite as good. When you play somebody with that kind of pancake overhead grip, it's easier to lob them because they're going to make fewer overheads because they have their technique wrong. So those are all some kind of technical things I see. Strategic wise, the difference between 4-0 and 4-5, I went over most of them. I feel like 4-0 players, they might have a huge forehand or a huge serve, and they try to win from the baseline and go for too much rather than kind of developing the point and playing a little smarter. That's kind of the big differences I see tactically and strategically. So what can you actually do with this information? The first step for you is to decide, is it technical? Is it a technical issue, or is it a tactical issue that I have? The best way to do that is Um, Go out and watch players who are a level above you. So if you're a 4-0, go watch some 4-5 players. One thing that might even be better is to play against them. And if you can get it on film, you can watch yourself on the court versus some of the other players. And um, does it look like you have a technical issue where you're not able to generate as much pace or as much spin, or you don't have the accuracy on a particular stroke, or you miss it a lot? Usually people know what their weakness is, and you can know if it's a technical issue. If it's a tactical issue, it's probably because you just haven't thought a lot about strategy. The best way to fix that is probably to listen to the first several episodes of this podcast. I'll link in the show notes to the 4-part series that teach you kind of the foundations of double strategy, and that can help a lot as well. But if you do have a technical issue, how can you improve? So let's say for me, my backhand technique is really bad. I haven't really worked on it a whole lot since I play doubles. I'm able to hide it, but my backhand technique is bad. My forehand technique is solid. My serve technique has improved a lot the past 3 or so years because I've focused on it a lot more. So how can you improve your technique? One is use a ball machine or find a good coach, and you just need to get a lot of good reps in so that you trust this new technique. Obviously, you'll have to change the technique that you're using now. So for me, I would have to change my backhand technique, and then it's gonna feel uncomfortable at first, and then I just need a lot of reps. So that would mean, again, finding a coach who can feed a lot of balls to me, or getting a ball machine and setting up targets and just work on it. Just hit the target, hit the target, hit the target. And eventually that new technique will feel more comfortable and you will improve that way. Finding a good coach is a little bit tougher, especially for technique. I've talked about in the past how a lot of coaches, I really don't 100% trust them to coach technique. And it's one reason that I personally don't coach it myself, because I don't trust myself to coach it, because I feel like it requires a ton of experience with a ton of different players. And it's a very, very complex issue. A few years back, I worked with Warren Pretorius over at Tennis Analytics on a course for coaches to help them improve their students' technique. And I learned a lot when I was building that course with him. So there's a few things you want to look for kind of in a coach. One is don't let them talk too much. If they're over talking, and if you have a 30-minute or an hour lesson and they're spending 30% of the time sitting with you, not hitting balls, and just talking to you and kind of shadow swinging and showing you your elbow's doing this and it needs to do this, that's far, far less effective than actually just setting up targets and feeding you balls and just telling you, small things like, hey, make sure you're keeping your elbow in. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Keep doing that. Yeah, do that again. Do that again. So if they're over talking and trying to show you how to swing by imitating it themselves, then that's typically not a great sign, because people don't learn motor skills, which tennis is. Any tennis stroke is a motor skill, as well through audio, through hearing it from someone, as they do visually. So one of the best things that you can do is actually get video of yourself hitting your backhand or whatever the stroke is, and then putting it side by side and syncing up that video with someone who has a proper backhand. And then you can watch that video and see the differences between your own stroke and someone else's stroke. And that kind of does something in your brain that kind of connects the motor pathway of the stroke so that you can actually make the proper adjustments. There's been several studies on it that have proven that visual works a lot better than audio for motor skills, and that's what we talk about in the course with tennis analytics. So that's definitely a far, far better way to improve your technique. So I'd highly recommend getting video of yourself, getting video of a better version of that stroke, and kind of looking at the differences, and then go out and just get a lot of reps. So again, technique versus tactical, decide that, and then figure out how you can improve that thing. If you have any questions on how to improve your own game, definitely reach out. My email is will@thetennistribe.com. And I will have another episode in a few weeks. I'm going to try to get some more pro players on, since we did the really big Indian Wells pro doubles launch. So we should have more episodes coming like that soon. But again, if you have any questions or any feedback, definitely reach out to me, and I will talk to you in the next episode. If you want to become a smarter doubles player and start winning more matches, then join the Tennis Tribe Doubles Strategy newsletter. Every single Thursday, I'll send you a new doubles tip or tactic that you can use in your very next match. And when you join, you're going to get a free guide on how to play with more confidence and start dominating at the net in doubles. My name's Will. I'm the founder of the Tennis Tribe, and over the last 5 years, I've worked with players at every level of the game, from USTA 3.0 players all the way to Division I college programs, as well as some of the top 10 doubles players in the world. And on Thursdays, with this strategy newsletter, I share that knowledge and advice that I've gained over the years with you. So to sign up, you can go to thetennistribe.com. And again, you'll get that free net play guide when you join.